Some parts of the country are already experiencing extreme heat. In some instances, people are advised to avoid direct exposure to the sun to also prevent the risk of dehydration, exhaustion, and sometimes heat strokes. They're also urging residents, these are authorities, to wear light, appropriate clothing and to limit outdoor activities. Let's get a better sense of what's actually taking place. Bring in our meteorologist here at home, Joel Guy, who's with us here in studio for a sense of what's taking place. And we've spoken about the heat, Joe, for quite some time, right? I think it's safe to say there's officially a heat wave, but we've also heard in the past about the El Niño phenomenon. To what extent does it play a role?
Yeah, thanks, Ayanda. Actually, we are being affected by the El Niño phenomena. It has been with us since mid last year. It has been building up. It intensified through the summer. That's why we didn't have all those good rains that we have been having in the past couple of years. So this has been a dry summer for much of southern Africa. And I'll just take you through some graphics that I have here to just give an idea of what we are talking about. So when we have the La Nina, which is the opposite of El Nino, now these are two sides of the same coin, actually. So when we are not having the La Nina, we have the El Nino, what we are having now. So when we have the La Nina, the eastern parts of the Pacific Ocean, just to the west of the of South America, the waters here, they are cool, and that affects the global weather patterns, including us here in Southern Africa. It gets wetter and temperatures will be slightly cooler compared to long-term averages, and that is mostly from November to April, which is the month we just got in. Now, the opposite of that, which is what we are experiencing now, the waters in the Eastern Pacific get warmer, and again, that affects much of the globe. And for us in Southern Africa, it becomes dry, and we experience temperatures that are much warmer compared to the long-term average. And once again, that runs from November to around March. Now, what's going to be happening from now onwards, that's the forecast for the El Nino phenomena. It's going to go into a neutral phase as we get into the months of May, June, but after June, it tends to become La Nina. Now, this is just a quick look at the differences between La Nina and El Nino. Like I said earlier on, when we have the El Nino, we have normal to below average rains across South Africa and much of Southern Africa, and the same applies to the temperatures. We tend to get hotter temperatures, and that's why we have the heat wave that we have going on right now across much of Central and Eastern South Africa, including Gauteng and Limpopo, where it is going to continue into Wednesday. But from Thursday, things will start to kind of cool down. It is also extremely hot for the western parts of the country, and needless to say, we are seeing very little rain across South Africa.
It goes without saying that a lot of people will be asking themselves how long this is likely to last, Joe. I mean, you know, in our conversations, we've spoken about this sometimes being possibly extended for much of the year. When there were heavy storms in KwaZulu-Natal, we were told that that was part of the La Nina phenomenon. That's almost 2 years ago, at 2022.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so for now, we might still get those heavy rains because those heavy rains were induced by a system that which is more localized, what we call the cutoff flow. We have been having these cutoff flows coming through every now and then. Even last week, we had a cutoff flow that brought heavy rains around the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape. So there is a chance of us getting, especially this month of April, getting a cutoff flow that will affect the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. So we cannot rule out those heavy rains coming in anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who's experiencing a heat wave wants to believe that it's never gotten this hot before. And I think that's probably just our subjective feeling about perhaps the misery we might be feeling at the time. But to what extent would that be accurate? You know, if anybody, for example, is in Pretoria, I know our reporter, Criselda Lewis, has just sent out a message about the heat in the capital as she watches the Senzo Meyiwa case. Have we been here before, and has it gotten worse before?
They could actually be right, because last week already we had some temperature records broken, especially in Limpopo and the Northwest. I remember Bela recorded something like 42 degrees, and that's a record that is broken since 1999. So They could be right. And because of global warming, I will quickly say that we are starting to see the extreme weather events becoming more extreme. So when we get the heat waves, they are more excessive compared to what we've been experiencing before. And the same applies to the severe weather in terms of heavy rains and severe thunderstorms. They are also becoming more ferocious compared to past decades.
Yeah, which certainly coincides with our experience here at home. I suppose the advice is still stock standard. Try keep out of direct sunlight, drink as much water as you can, and I suppose those sunscreens should also come in handy.
That's very true, and especially if you're in these parts where you see that shade of orange between the hours of 11 to 3 p.m. because that's when we have the maximum heating from the sun. So you need to even avoid outdoor strenuous activities and try to stay indoors and work maybe earlier in the morning and later in the afternoon.
All right, I suppose really spoiled here at the SABC. You can just pop in and give us this expert advice. Joe Guy, as always, thanks very much indeed. Our meteorologist here on the SABC News channel. Stick around, of course, we'll get you a sense of what the highs and lows are looking like for the day ahead. But that advice certainly well received for you to keep clear of any direct sunlight because of the, let's call them, unusual weather temperatures that we're seeing for the week ahead.